So we've talked about adding and subtracting fractions that have the same denominator, that are from the same fraction family. But what happens when we want to add or subtract fractions that are not in the same fraction family? Because that will happen. So here I have 1/4, and I want to add 3/8 to it. Now, I can try to change my eighths to a fourth. Let's see what happens. Okay, so my eighths do not create a whole, they create a whole fourth and a little bit. They don't create 2/4. They don't create just 1/4. They create a fourth and a little bit. So that's not going to work. Let's see if I can change my fourth to eighths. So here I have my eighths. I'm gonna see if I can fit my fourth in evenly into my eighths. Let's see. So I'm gonna take out 1/8 and place it off to the side. And no, my fourth will not fit in the space of 1/8. Let's take out 2 and see what happens. Oh, yep. So my fourth is the same amount, is equivalent, 1/4 is equivalent to 2/8. They take up the same amount of space. So I can change my 1/4 into 2/8. And now, because they're in the same fraction family, we can add them. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up that problem. So this is what the problem looked like at first. 1/4 plus 3/8, but we found out we can't do that. They need to be the same fraction family. So we changed our fourth into, oops, sorry about that. We changed our fourth into 2/8. So I can write that. 2/8. So now we can either count our fraction pieces, which is what I'm gonna do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5/8. Once you get to this point and the denominator is the same, you can also just add the numerators together. 2 plus 3 is 5, and it would be 5/8. But if your denominators are not the same, you cannot add them. You have to change one of them. Let's look at another example. Okay, so now we're gonna take a look at how we would figure this out with the material that you have at home. So let's say I want to add 1/2 and 3/10. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna scoot these off to the side to write it down. So I have 1/2, and I want to add 3/10. I can't do it this way. I have to change one of them. My tenths are not going to make a half. You see that? They're too small to make a half. So I have to turn the half into tenths, which I can do. So the way I would recommend doing it, there's 2 ways. I'll show you both ways. The first way, and the way that I think would probably be easier, is to see how many tenths you can fit on your half. Tell you what, I'm gonna leave these because this is what we're adding. So these are just gonna stay here. I'm gonna use the extra tenths that I have. Oh my goodness. Okay. And you wanna hold the other ones still while you're putting the new ones on, if you can. You can also do this if you have the whole circle. So if you have the page that's just this, you can also do it that way so you don't have to worry about this part moving around. Okay, so I see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5/10 makes up 1/2. 1/2 takes up the same amount of space, is equivalent to 5/10. So now all of my fractions are tenths and I can add them. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tenths. So 1/2 plus 3 tenths. We turned our half into 5 tenths. So then 5 tenths plus 3 tenths is 8 tenths. On your follow-up work, there is a space underneath each problem. If you can, I want you to change the problem so that it will fit. This is a subtraction one, which you will be doing, but we're going to talk about subtraction in a moment. So you're going to rewrite the problem once you've changed the number. So what that would look like is if we had, let's go back to what it was. If we had 1/2 plus 3 tenths, down here in my space, I would write 5 tenths plus 3 tenths. Okay. And then I would write my answer, 8 tenths. And you could show the same thing up here. You could also write 8 tenths. Okay? But you do need to show that you changed the fraction to be the same denominator. That's important. Okay. The other way you can figure out, like if we were doing this problem, 1/2 plus 3 tenths, the other way you could figure it out would be to put the bigger piece, you would need the whole circles for this. Put the bigger piece on top of this one. This one is more difficult because you're going to be blocking. It's going to be harder to count. You can kind of see through it on this paper and count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 tenths. But the other way is just like a little bit easier. But either way works. All right, so now we're going to take a look. We're going to do one more problem, and it's going to be the first one on your follow-up work. We're going to do 1/2 plus 1/4. So now we're going to look at one of the problems on your follow-up work. It is the 4th problem, 1/3 plus 3/9. Okay, so here I have 1/3 plus 3/9. 1/3 plus 3/9. Okay, now we know that we can't add these together the way they are right now because they're different denominators. They're from different fraction families. So one of them needs to change. In this case, we're going to change our 1/3 to our 9ths. We usually change the bigger fraction to the smaller fraction. So let's see how many 9ths will fit on our 1/3. I'm going to move these off to the side for now. We'll bring them back when we add. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. 3/9 takes up the same amount of space as 1/3. So I can go ahead and rewrite my problem. So instead of 1/3 now, we're going to write 3/9 plus our original 3/9. And now all we have to do is add them together. So 1, 2 ninths, 3 ninths, oops, 4 ninths, 5 ninths, 6 ninths. So 3 ninths plus 3 ninths is 6 ninths, or 1/3 plus 3 ninths is 6 ninths. I would like you to write the answer in both areas. Okay, now we're going to take a look at subtraction. Okay, so here we have our subtraction problem. It's this one. 4/10 take away 1/5. So I will have my 4/10. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I need to take away 1/5 from this, but the problem is they're not the same denominator. The important thing to know about subtracting with fractions with different denominators is that just like we saw when we were subtracting with the same denominator, we're not putting anything else out here because this is what we're taking from. We're just going to be taking away part of it. So I'm not going to bring my 5th out here to use for this problem. I am going to use it to find out how many tenths can fit on it, but it is not part of here because I can't just have this and then be like, oh, I'm going to take it away because that's still 4/10. So that's just something to keep in mind. So we're going to move these off to the side just so I can figure out how many tenths 1/5 is so that we can take that number of tenths away from our 4/10. Okay, so I have my 1/5 and I can see that 2/10 fit on it. So 2/10 is equivalent to, takes up the same amount of space as 1/5. So that means that I need to take away 2/10 from my 4/10. Before I do that, I'm going to rewrite my problem. So this is still 4/10, and we're taking away 2/10. So 4/10 take away 2/10 leaves us with 1/10, 2/10. 4/10 take away 2/10 is 2/10. It's okay if this seems like a lot right now. That's normal. We're going to look at one more example. All right. So in this one, I'm going to do 1/3 take away 2 ninths. Okay. Again, I'm not going to bring these out because they are not part of this. What I am going to do is I am going to see how many ninths is the same as 1/3. So I'm going to have my third. I'm going to measure. So 1/3 is equivalent to 1, 2, 3 ninths. So 1/3 is the same as 3 ninths. I'm going to write that. So 1/3 is 3 ninths. So our problem is now 3 ninths take away 2 ninths. Okay, so I have 3 of them, and I'm going to take 2 of them away, which leaves me with 1/9. So 3 ninths take away 2 ninths equals 1/9. And I'll write it up here as well. Make sure you write it in both places, and also make sure you show your work. This is really important with this. All right, so your follow-up work is this card with addition of fractions with different denominators, and this card, which is subtraction with fractions with different denominators. Okay, each of them has 10 problems. I would like you to use your fraction pieces to do this. I will attach them to this lesson so that you'll have them handy. Okay. I will see you in your next lesson. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye for now.